Hello, I'm Gunjan Handa, and this is on Record with TAC. And joining us today is Mr. Dolkun Isa. He's a leading voice for Uyghur rights, and he also recently retired as the president, or finished his second term for that matter, as the president of the World Uyghur Congress. Born in Xinjiang, China, he has spent decades in exile after having faced persecution by the Chinese authorities. Since then, he's dedicated most of his life to advocating for Uyghur human rights on a global stage. He has represented the same at the United Nations, the European Parliament, and other governments around the world. And despite being labeled as a terrorist by China, he has been received with fandom by the rule-based global order. His work has brought international attention to the plight of Uyghur people, making him both a symbol of resistance and a target for Beijing. Hello, sir. I welcome you on our platform today. How are you this morning?
Thank you. It is my pleasure to having me. Thank you.
Before and without any further delay, I want to start with asking this: that you've led the WC since 2017 up until this year. So, what are the tangible changes that your efforts or have achieved for the Uyghur rights? And do you think anything that you've fallen short of and that you wanted to do more?
Oh, thank you very much. And first, before you answer your question, I have to make some small corrections. And you say is it coming Xinjiang from China? Actually, we never accept the word Xinjiang because Xinjiang is a Chinese word. Xinjiang meaning is Xin is a new, Jiang is a territory, new border, new territory. It is an occupied country, so we call East Turkestan. East Turkestan. Yes. Yeah. I'm the co-founder of the World Uyghur Congress. The World Uyghur Congress established 2004. I was charged Secretary General and also Executive Committee Chair of the World Uyghur Congress from established 2004 until 2017. And 2017, 6th General Assembly, I was elected as President of the World Uyghur Congress. So World Uyghur Congress is representative body of the Uyghur diaspora, Uyghur exile. So until 2017, until before I'm elected, actually World Uyghur Congress, every 3 years we have a General Assembly and the World Uyghur Congress leadership will be elected by the delegation. Before 2017, the delegation not be elected by the Uyghur community. After I was elected the president, then World Uyghur Congress Executive Committee, we made some reform. We thinking if World Uyghur Congress really get representative, legitimated according to the international norm, we have to follow up the international norm. You know, and because we are democratic organization and a representative body, so that's why if this we should be improved and reform. Then this is one of the important reform. 7th General Assembly 2021 and November was taking place in the Czech Republic, Prague, capital of the Czech, Prague. That time, and we reformed. Every Uyghur over the 18 years old have a right to nominate himself or herself to the delegate. First, we choose the delegation and the nomination, and the internal committee of the World Uyghur Congress and the election committee review the nomination. Who has a qualification for the delegate? Then they have a right, then we have an election. First election was elected delegate. All Uyghur, for example, Germany, Uyghur community who living in Germany, elected delegation and from Germany, delegate from Germany. United States, Turkey, Central Asia, each country, Uyghur community delegate, elected delegate for the General Assembly. This is the system. Then 2024, last year, 8th General Assembly, we expanded also more institutionalization for this reform. Then 2024, we continually implement this new reform. Then 176 delegates from 25 countries elected by the Uyghur community. Then 176 Uyghur elected delegation coming to the General Assembly in the Sarajevo, Bosnia Herzegovina taking place, and the civil elected and the new leadership. So after I elected 2017 and another reform, president only 2 terms, like United States, 2 term presidency system. So my 2 term is finished and I stepped down, and we elected new president, new vice president, and also we have World Uyghur Congress have 15 different of departments. For example, internal department, human rights department, women's department, youth department, publication center, something like. So all leader and the director of the department also democratic elected. Altogether, 35 executive committee members, including president, vice president, democratic elected by the delegation. This is the new system when I was elected the president. Yeah.
So, understanding that you have involved other countries into this whole system to make it a little more democratic, I want to talk about the world's participation or presence in the whole Uyghur cause. So, the United Nations and most of the countries across the globe have vastly remained silent on the Uyghur persecution under Chinese rule. So, there is a pledge that came after the Second World War, after the world saw how Jews were treated in Germany under Hitler's rule. There was a term that was coined never again. So, do you think that never again is more of a preserved term, and the governments of the world and the United Nations does not really put this on people that are not predominantly under their own rule? Do you think that never again is something that also applies to the Uyghur fight or Tibet fight for that matter?
Well, very nice question. Yes, you are right. After Second World War, after Nazi regime, and the world promised never again. It is mean never again such a massacre and the genocide will be taking place. But unfortunately, 21st century today, even this time, this day, also genocide ongoing for the to the Uyghur by the Chinese government. So actually, this persecution, Chinese government's Chinese Communist Party persecution against the Uyghurs was not new. It was happening since the occupation. Uh, as I said at the beginning, is this country has been occupied 1949 Chinese Communist Army. Since then, starting and the discrimination, assimilation policy continually implemented. 1955, Chinese government granted Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. Even today, official status according to the Chinese constitution is autonomous region, like Tibet Autonomous Region, Uyghur Autonomous Region. Unfortunately, Uyghur people have never enjoyed the autonomy. You know, economic, political, cultural, religious, all right continually has been persecuted and violated by the Chinese government. So it is mean discrimination, assimilation exists all the time. But 2013, beginning of 2014, current President Xi Jinping took the power Chinese government discrimination, assimilation policy into genocidal policy. Since 2016, Chinese government built mass detention center concentration camp. You know, so before established the concentration camp and detain more than 3 million people. At the moment, up to 3 million people suffering concentration camp. This things was not happening within 1 day. Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping, test entire world. First, test Western countries. For example, 2016, step by step, implement travel ban. collected all the Uyghur passport, had all international flight, you know, and the cat communication. But a few international organizations like Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International just made statement, but countries, United Nations, European Union, or other international organization, even world media also didn't take care very much. You know, World Uyghur Congress and the other Uyghur organization, we focus this issue to the international media, made a statement. We regularly attend the UN Human Rights Council's meeting, raise this issue. Yes, some NGO also and support us, but countries, majority international media really didn't take care. China say, okay, maybe I can't go ahead. Then restriction religious freedom. We are Muslim. Then Chinese government banned into the mosque, banned headscare. 2015, 2016, starting to ban forbidden fasting. We revise this issue, to the Muslim world. But Muslim world is continuous silent, no single word, and criticize the Chinese government. If any single violation, Islamophobia happening in Europe, all Muslim world immediately stand up condemning. But the Chinese government collected Quran, burned Quran,
Right.
and the really Chinese Communist Party start war against Islam. No single word coming Islamic world. China say, okay, I'm strong good enough. It is a time I really cracked down and started genocide. It means China after Xi Jinping took the power, he tested democratic world, Islamic world, civil society, international media, not serious and the condemnation on any critical voice was happening. China say, okay, I'm strong enough. No one, no country, and they're against me. Then starting this build to the concentration camp start. So it is a really pity situation until 2018. Really, entire world was silent. But up to 2018, and that really this is really one of the big issue.
So I
Yes.
also wanted to come to this that Chinese government and Chinese authorities are not only known to have collected and burnt Qurans, they've deconstructed or they've broken mosques down, and religious ambiguity, the other religious freedom has ceased to exist for Uyghurs, as far as our knowledge goes, or as far as the evidence that has been presented by the World Uyghur Congress itself and other Uyghur organizations as well, that the Chinese authorities have taken away the freedom of religion, not only by burning Qurans, but they have also changed the context of Qurans. They have also reworked Quran in a certain way to represent it, for it to represent the Chinese presence in Quran, and it has now become more of a political book than a book of religion, than a holy scripture. So how does that affect the cultural and religious stability of Uyghurs and cultural and religious freedom for Uyghurs, for that matter?
Islam is one of the important part of the Uyghur identity. Of course, and the Chinese government not only against Islam. Chinese Communist Party is an anti-religious organization. One of them.
Right.
Today, Chinese government not only against Islam, of course, is a level is big different, but not only against Islam, also Tibetan Buddhists. And today, Chinese government also under persecution and is a Tibetan Buddhism, and the Chinese Christianism as well. The Catholic Church also a lot of burning on the clothes, and the Falun Gong even. So that's why Chinese Communist Party is anti-religious, anti-beliefs organization. Yes, don't believe any religious on the belief. So but mostly attacked to the Islam, because Islam is one of the uh, important part of Uyghur identity. If and not only against the Islam, against the Uyghur language. For example, when I was studying Xinjiang University in the 1980s, teaching language was a university Uyghur. I received the education as my mother tongue. Mother tongue. But step by step, from 2004, from university, Uyghur teaching language was banned. Then step by step, from 2016, from university, kindergarten to university, now is only Uyghur and the Chinese language. Chinese 2000, after Xi Jinping talks about 2014, really encouraging bilingual education system. It is mean Chinese and Uyghur, but it is not bilingual. It is Mandarin language education system. Today, you can speak Uyghur language just at home.
Right.
In the school, you cannot speak. If religion is destroyed, language is destroyed, culture is destroyed, then identity disappear. Then it is the very successful process to and the eliminated national identity.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the main purpose and the process of the CCP destroys Uyghur identity. Yeah.
So I want to add here the concept of re-education camps that China introduces as re-education camps, which have also later on have been described by activists and people who've come out of them, which is very, very fewer people whose families are there, as detention camps or concentration camps as well. So these
Yeah.
re-education camps are generally set up to take kids and take people away from their own identity, from their own culture, from their own education system, and make them more Chinese appropriate or more China appropriate. So these have also been used as detention camps or concentration camps. And my deepest apologies before I ask the next question, but even your mother, to my knowledge, perished in one of these camps. Unfortunately,
Yes.
she lost her lives to one of these Chinese camps. I'm sorry to even bring this up here, but I think it is more important to discuss this here so that we can talk about how personally also this has affected you, like millions others that have sat and perished in these camps. So your mother unfortunately died there. Your brothers are imprisoned. Your brother
Yes.
is imprisoned, as to my knowledge. So could
Yes.
you maybe talk to
Yes.
me a little bit more about how the personal life of yours and all these people who have been put in concentration camps has affected the Uyghur fight and you personally? Because no matter how hard we try, I am sure that the personal side of it also adds to the whole idea of fighting harder. So could you tell me a little bit more about this?
Well, yeah. So Chinese government call is actually until 2018. Chinese government never accept eradication camp or detention center or something. Not like is denied everything. Until 2018 August, United Nations committee eliminated racial discrimination committee review, third committee review China. Until this committee review China, Chinese government denied everything. Oh, there is no detention center, no eradication camp, no blah blah. But UN expert use several of resources, then review Chinese report, and the first time UN expert review Chinese report, and they are exposed this eradication camp, so-called. Then Chinese government changed narrative. Yes, we have a such center, but it is not detention center, and it is a concentration camp. It is vocational training center, re-education camp. Saying we re-educated, training the young generation for better future. Look, but there is a lot of professor in the concentration camp, re-education, so-called re-education camp. There is no need for re-education because it's a professor. For example, Tashplat Piet, who is a professor, the president and the professor of Xinjiang University, one of the largest university in Turkistan. I studied there. He got PhD, doctor degree in Tokyo University. He's in concentration camp, re-education camp. Actually, he didn't need for education. Conrad Rupur, Who is the president of the Xinjiang Medical University? He, he should not and eradicate it, As you say, my mother, she was 78 years old lady, already pensioners, and more than to 20, 78 years old. No need for the eradication.
Right.
And a lot of actress, singer, intellectuals in the suffering concentration camp. So Human Rights Watch and some other Uyghur Human Rights Project, and they well documented this. Then Chinese government and they changed the narrative again, saying, "Oh yes, we have we are fighting for radicalism and terrorism." So Chinese government time to time change and the narrative because of international pressure and accept. Yeah. So this eradication, it is not eradication camp. Actually, it is Chinese government puts 3 million people in this indoctrinate. Denounce national identity, religious identity. You forced it to speak Chinese. In the morning is a concentration camp. Now is some camp survivor living in the Western countries, some of the United States, some of the European country, because they are marriage foreign citizens. Some have is a foreign citizen. That's why they were released. Other way impossible. After the release, coming to the exile, they made testimony. They all stay in different concentration camp, but they all telling horrible story. Waking up 6 o'clock in the morning, you have to sit down on the beton chair. You don't have a right turn around or speaking. You have to thinking, meaning you have to self-criticize yourself.
Right.
Oh, saying, I'm the criminal. I'm that person. You have to criticize yourself, and then you have to show the loyalty Chinese Communist Party and the Xi Jinping, saying, because we are Muslim, before after eating, after drink, oh, thanks Allah, thanks God for this food. But you have to show the loyalty to Xi Jinping, Chinese Communist. Thanks for the Xi Jinping. Thanks for the Chinese Communist Party. Without Xi Jinping, without Chinese Communist Party, no water, no food. You have to convince yourself. This word coming from your heart,
So
Yeah.
it's a psychological breakdown. It's not just re-education camp for that matter. It's more like
Yes.
it's indoctrination
In
of it.
between. Yes.
Then, and it's also a psychological breakdown of the cultural identity. This is also a case that we've seen in Canada earlier, when the indigenous people of Canada were put into these schools, and now there's a whole day made out of it where they call it a reconciliation day, Orange Day, something of that sort, right? So that is also something similar. It came out after quite a few years where people who survived these re-education centers and schools, they came out to say that our cultural identities were stolen from us, our kids were stripped away. So this
Yes.
also is something that I want to add here, that reports of forced labor from these camps have also come out, that a lot of the cheap Chinese manufacturing comes from cheap labor, and the cheap labor can also mean modern day slavery. And a lot of these concentration camps reportedly have these new day slaves in there, which they have transformed people that they've been persecuting into slaves, that they are not paid, they are simply sitting in those camps and they're forced labor. So is that true, and to what extent?
Yeah, it is true. Until 2019, from end of 2016, beginning of 2017, until 2019, more than 3 years, this all detainer, more than 3 million people, just subject to the indoctrinate, physical torture, such psychological torture, denounce national identity, you convince yourself. Then up then 2019, beginning of end of 2019, Chinese government during the 3 years also, and established some factory inside the concentration camp or near the concentration camp. So then this all detainer use of forced labor, Uh, a lot of international brand today, for example, Volkswagen, Adidas, Nike, and because I'm living in Germany, is Volkswagen, Mercedes, Benz, and this and the Volkswagen. They have historically complicity of the Holocaust genocide. But this is repeated again today. Volkswagen have a factory in Rimchi. It's just example. More than around 1,000 international company have direct or indirect complicity of the genocide, Uyghur forced labor. So today, most of some company just thinking of money, but doesn't care. Today, 25% cotton textile globally coming from Uyghur forced labor. In China, 85% cotton coming from Uyghur forced labor. Electronic car. Most of some people thinking, no, is the electronic car. Is everybody talking about, because of environment, because of the climate change, electronic car and is the more clean energy for this. But never thinking it is not clean energy, it is a blood energy. Because more than 40% electronic car battery coming from the Uyghur forced labor. This is the raw material coming from East Turkestan, coming from the Uyghur forced labor. Solar panel, around 47, if I'm not wrong, 47% is the solar panel produced East Turkestan and coming from the Uyghur forced labor. People don't thinking it, it's clean energy. It is not clean energy. It is the blood energy. Use the Uyghurs, millions of Uyghurs subjects to the slavery work. This is already confirmed by the International Labour Organization and Amnesty, and also address dance. This all use the Chinese resource. Confirm it is. Yeah.
So this also brings me to the because slavery has obviously been abolished across the globe, but virtually alone, because it clearly remains in China, it clearly remains in Chinese colonies for that matter. I want to ask that WUC has been seeking self-determination, but China has been dismissing any dialogues with the WUC or any other Uyghur organizations for that matter. What are the concessions that the WUC is willing to make to maybe have negotiations, to maybe have a dialogue with the Chinese authorities?
Yes, World Uyghur Congress, because we are a democratic organization. World Uyghur Congress implemented this mission statement is seeking self-determination right and the protect the human right and the implement the democratic system. This is the main core mission of the World Uyghur Congress. Of course, we are called the Chinese government 2010 is a dialogue, but Chinese government never responds for this. We believe Chinese government never willing to solve the problem this peaceful way. We have experienced Tibetan, Holiness Dalai Lama representative and is a Lodi Gary and Buchung and the delegation and have a long time dialogue with China, but result is zero. So we don't trust dialogue anymore. We don't trust because China just saves the time, and speaking the Tibetan government is a represent Dalai Lama, but there is nothing. Usually getting dire in Tibet as well today. And the cultural genocide taking place Tibetan, genocide taking place against the Uyghur today is Turkestan. So actually no, only the option is Turkestan should be determining its political future by the Turkestan people and the independent country. Yes, it is the only option. Is the only option. Without this, and the Chinese government, if we don't have our own country, we cannot save the Uyghur. Uyghur will be disappeared because Chinese Communist Party, Chinese government intention is completely eliminated the Uyghur identity, Uyghurs. Because this is the occupied country. Another one of the important point I have to emphasize: Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, One Belt, One Road. CPAC, for example, And the Chinese government uses economic power trying to expandation its territory. This is CPEC is main purpose is territorial expansion project. Now it's a lot of Chinese government give loan to the Central Asia country, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. They know this government is very corrupted government. They cannot pay back. It doesn't mean Chinese government say, okay, it doesn't mean you don't pay back this loan, you can give you land. You know, they are doing same thing, all neighboring country. So Chinese government spent trillion of dollars for the Belt and Road Initiative, this territorial expansion project. If East Turkestan is the Uyghurs exist, the problem exists. We never give up all political aim. We never, East Turkestan people never and they give up. It is freedom, liberation. Never give up. Sometimes peaceful demonstration. Sometimes is armed struggle. It is all right, but Chinese government never respects the political will of the Turkestan people, Uyghur people. So that's why Chinese government is thinking it is only option completely eliminated of the Uyghurs. Then the occupation, Chinese government occupation is Turkestan and being forever. This is the main purpose. So that's why we realize, we know very clear, no, we are facing for genocide is the independent only option, save the Uyghur, save all land. Yes.
So China's expansionism has taken a clear path that even the British colonial powers took, which was give money, have them under your debt, and then take over their properties, which is what the British did in India and all of its other colonies. And Chinese expansionism has not just stayed within the Asian continent now, it has also been expanding in Africa. It has been
Yes.
investing in Africa, and since African countries are not wealthy enough to pay them back, they now own a lot of land in Africa as well. So this is not just a threat to countries within Asian boundaries, but beyond it as well, which also means that the world order can change as we know it. And that also affects US and European Union. This brings me to my next question, that the United States of America and the European Union, which are as of now sitting at the helm of world order, despite that, despite their position as the, you know, them holding the reels of them actually being at the helm of the world order, their position is also threatened because China is expanding. US and EU have been criticizing that the occupation of East Turkestan and Tibet and sorry, excuse me, and also the Hong Kong region, or the uh, any and all of the regions that China has been expanding its feet in. So, despite criticizing it, there are no strong actions, no drastic actions that are followed, that that follow the words. So, is there rhetoric, or is them condemning the expansionism enough, or do you think they are complicit in Uyghur suffering?
Yes, so is China is 30 years ago is not, or 20 years ago was not second big economy around the world. 30 years ago, Deng Xiaoping start is a reform, economic reform. That time, oh, we are developed country, we are not will be threat to the world. We should be cooperate very politely and the approaching to the world. But we are trying to the World Uyghur Congress, before the World Uyghur Congress, or former leader and activists also, since the occupation, we are warning to the entire world, all dangerous Chinese Communist Party, Chinese communists, but world didn't listen to us. So, and China joined the World Trade Union, the WTO, and now is getting big economic power. Most of some Western country, Western leader, for example, President Clinton, I'll say once, if China joining WTO, we are not only export or protection to the China, we also export or democratic system, democratic value to the China. it was wrong. We know China never accepts this, but the Western leader made mistake. So a lot of investment today. China and use the Western technology, Western money, Western investment. Then and growing up, no, and China is a big second big economy. No, Chinese government not accept Western democracy, Western value. This and the vast opposite, China authoritarian regime export for the entire world. Today, transnational repression and China's use its authoritarian regime to other world. Africa, neighboring country. China is also model of the authoritarianism. So Western country, Western leader is and made mistake. No, they are realized little bit, not complete at all. Still not complete at all. So that's why China not ignore international pressure. 30 years ago, China really cannot ignore because they need Western technology. No, Western country depend Chinese money. United States, European Union, all, and it depends on China, Chinese marketing. So China knows their will, says, no, I'm strong, good enough, I'm powerful, I ignored you. So then it is a step China now trying to change international order. Human rights system, for example. China trying to and misuse international organization, Interpol, for example. At the beginning, you say, for example, I'm the human rights activist, a democracy activist, I'm fighting right peacefully way by my people. I never seen the real gun in my lifetime. But China say I'm the terrorist. Kill the people. How is possible? So I'm suffering 21 years. I have a red notes. I was detained so many country border. Even today, because of Chinese influence, I cannot enter India as well. Do you know that? I have
Right.
travel ban in India as well. So powerful. So that's why this is the Western country have a big, huge responsibility for this genocide, huge and responsibility and for the Chinese today impose it is authoritarian regime to the other country. Occupy looks like we help humanitarian help, we help the infrastructure to some African country. Recently, I visited some African country. At the beginning, African people was, okay, will come Chinese government help us. But no, they are realized Chinese government, for example, I visit Gambia, control all the fishing industry
Right.
and the minor industry all. Now it will realize, that is not really help us. People slowly understand the real face of the Chinese government, but some is too late, If continue too late, and it tires for the entire world.
I would like to come back to talking about international action about Uyghur suffering. But before that, I
Yes.
want to touch up upon you mentioned Interpol. So you've been in Germany since 1994. You are sitting in the house of one of the biggest genocides on record that the world has seen. So, despite sitting there, despite telling the world that we are suffering from ethnical cleansing, and from genocide at the hands of Chinese government, the China deemed you as a terrorist, and it has continued to do that. And Interpol, I am sure, has raised a lot of problems for you as well, including going to other countries, and you face threats where you sit as well, including harassment. So I want to understand. This is a very personal question, although that have you ever regretted fleeing in the first place, and if not, then how do you protect yourself today?
Yeah, you are right. So China is not only China, of course, Russia, and sometimes Pakistan, and also it's Iran. This country also misuse international system, for example, Interpol. But China is the leader for this all. So and it misuses international organization and against a critical voice. As I say, I'm the pro-democratic student leader when I was studying at Xinjiang University, but China blame me as a killer, terrorist, something like So some country also use the China, is a follow of China and misuse international system. But uh, So that's why there's a lot of criticize to the Interpol, also some international NGO, and the Interpol also a little bit make some reform. Reform. I never stop, I was detained in the South Korea. I was detained in the Washington D.C. International Dallas Airport 2006. I was detained in Turkey. I was detained so many. Even I was detained in my own country, but I never give up. Okay, China is powerful, but should be every country, and it should be respects the international laws. Should be international justice, should be private. International system should be work implemented. So I have continued work, fighting my right. I never give up. If you give up in middle way, then you will be finished. If I not give up, if not continue fighting, I just give up. Maybe my name still is Interpol list, but I'm fighting. Up to 21 years later, 2018, my red notice was delayed. Was not delayed. That time, president of the Interpol was Chinese minister, Meng Hongwei, president of Chinese minister. No, I'm free. He's in jail in China. He's in jail. Yes. No.
So, so Chinese government, I just want to ask this question here that Chinese government basically persecutes anybody and everybody who will get up and talk against them. So it's not just the
Yes.
Uyghurs, it's not just the Tibetans, it's not just the people of Taiwan. It's quite literally everybody who would stand up and have the courage to say anything against China. Maybe tomorrow, if I want to go to
Exactly.
China, I also might not be allowed to enter or let or be allowed to leave if I do enter for that matter. But jokes apart, I do want to understand that this expansionism and this control, how is China still not being considered a dictatorship? And this also, I want to add another question here that it can only be called a dictatorship if the international bodies or international pressure builds on them to be recognized as a dictatorship. So why is it still not called a dictatorship?
Well, is it no? Is that it is a big question, of course, and we are time to time we attend the UN Human Rights Council. United Nations Human Rights Council is the international and legitimate largest powerful organ in the world. But unfortunately, Human Rights Council also occupied certain authoritarian regime, like China, Iran, Saudi Arabia. This this Human Rights Council is just a lot. It is the credibility. Yes, they are occupied because China spend the money, and and both the countries, you know, we are very openly, very in front of us. China make economic pressure to the country if you support the Uyghur issue or Tibet issue, and we will don't give you money or loan on the economic sanction to that, threat to them. And most of some country today is dependent on the Chinese market. Chinese money make business with China. Even not only authoritarian countries or African country, global. So sometimes some democratic country also Thailand on this. Interestingly, and the sad situation, sad reality, democratic countries, democratic nations, time to time we have witness is split voice, not having united voice. Very split is voice, democratic voice. But dictators, authoritarian voice getting very united, led by China. It's UN, we have seen, Oh, for example, is the UN couple of times a jointly statement was made a jointly statement country against the Chinese government on the Uyghur issue. But last time is maximum 51, 2022, 51 country make jointly statement against China. But 62 country with China, support China. You imagine. So that's mean it is the China is make pressure, use economic power, and more country, mostly Muslim countries, they know because we know this. Okay, is some Muslim country doesn't care human rights, democracy, but should be care Islamic value. Islamic value. China, turning Quran is the same as
Right.
that. Islam is Islam. Chinese government is calling Islam should be standardization. And the compatible for the Chinese Communist Party is a universal religious. But in China, no. In this situation also, because of the economic benefit, because of the marketing, because of the money, this all Muslim countries, so-called leader of Islam, silence and abandon this value, support China. This is the situation, this is the situation.
So, from whatever you're saying, I'm also understanding this, and also from whatever work I've been doing, I understand that the Chinese influence has been increasing for some time, especially economically. With growing Chinese influence, do you think that the work that you or the World Uyghur Congress has been putting in, is there a possibility that if the world order changes, if China does become the biggest power world knows, do you think the work that you have done on the World Uyghur Congress has done, it could completely be erased and become obsolete?
Yes. China is economically strong. You have a lot of power, but we are still optimistic because we are World Uyghur Congress, Uyghur organization. We don't have a much capacity. We don't have much power compared with China. But because of this advocacy work, we have seen some positive stuff. For example, 11 national parliament, 10 national parliament plus European Parliament recognize Uyghur genocide motions, condemning China. And we also know is that World Uyghur Congress and other 460 international human rights organization, labor union established in the Uyghur Forced Labor Coalition. We are working together. Some international company, because of this pressure, remove and from Turkistan, for example, Volkswagen. Remove finally. At the beginning, they cover this their mistake. At the beginning, they denied everything, but after being strong pressure, we hold demonstration in front of the Volkswagen. And we also jointly letter, condemnation, publish report, some international expert done. Finally, Volkswagen and left, make announcement, leave from Xinjiang. Another German chemical company, BASF, also announced remove from Turkestan. It's a big step. And H on the end, and the Swedish company, because they are buying the possible cotton. They are also stop the buying cotton. This is the example. Norwegian petrol pensioner foundation also they have a cooperation with China stop because of advocacy. And the United States adopted Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act and into the law 2020 June 2022. So all products from Turkestan, from Xinjiang, is forbidden to enter United States. Though it is a big effect. No, China's government's economic situation is not good. It's not good. Not is it strong in the maybe this Chinese economic growing up is more than 10% last before the for 3 years, but no, it's 4% something like real estate is a collapse in China. A lot of company is there and they cannot pay the salary to the workers. A lot of local government also cannot pay. So China's economic is slowed down. No, this is the big impact of advocacy. So now also some Western companies, US company also slowly left from China to some other India, Vietnam, some other country, because we continually making this. We asking them should not complicit of the genocide. So it is the big step. Of course, it is not good enough. Still huge number of the company continue make business with China, but we have to continue doing our advocacy, continue make pressure, because every human being have a moral obligation and to stop ongoing genocide. All companies have moral obligation and also legal obligation to stop ongoing genocide. All country government signed 1947 international genocide conventions have a legal obligation to stop ongoing genocide. So
Right.
all responsibility we continue remind them, continue push them. Yeah.
So this brings me to my final question to you today, that uh, when do you think, and if at all, will East Turkestan see freedom?
Yes, I truly believe it. And we have, if you look at we look at the history, a lot of powerful empires collapsed. Soviet Union, for example, and a lot of the empire, because today China and Chinese Communist Party also has been faced a lot of problem. Not only Uyghur problem, is Tibetan and the Falun Gong and Hong Kong democracy disappeared in front of the entire world. And today, Hong Kong also is a democracy disappear. And today is Taiwan also, Taiwanese national sovereignty under dangerous by the China. So today, more people realize Chinese Communist Party hold dangerous also world peace. China's government, China have a territorial problem. All entire neighbors country, India, Pakistan, Central Asia, Russia, Japan, Philippines, Malaysia, all country. So China has a lot of problem. CCP also lost trust, even Chinese people as well. A lot of Chinese Communist Party member also leave and abandon and quit from the Chinese Communist Party. So today, Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping only use the economic power, use the army, use the power, the police, controls China. But we have seen, and we know the history, there's this kind of authoritarianism, this kind of police state cannot be survivor forever. So we truly believe, and because Chinese people, I believe, more than 90-80% Chinese people, Chinese citizens also don't want the Chinese Communist Party current system. So one day, Chinese government, Chinese Communist Party is collapse, and it's Turkestan, Tibet, and we will be free. I truly believe that.
Well, we also certainly hope so. And will China stop its expansionism campaign? Will East Turkestan see a free sun? And how does this affect the world as we know it? Today, we leave this conversation here with all these questions and many more answered. We were joined by Mr. Dolkun Isa. I am Gunjananda, and this is the Asian Chronicle. Thank you so much for speaking to us, sir.
I thank you very much.